Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you. And in this video, I'm going to talk about, buying music today, the evolution of buying music. And, of course, we're going to address the big issue about how buying music today, let's be honest, is totally optional. Back in the old days, obviously, the only way to consume music was live performances. So, if you paid a professional musician, the only way to hear them was to go to a concert. That was it. There was no other way to hear a professional musician play music. Now, of course, back then, just as now, there are tons of amateur musicians that did it for free. It was probably more back in those days. There were probably more amateur musicians just by necessity of not having recordings available. So probably a greater portion of the population knew how to produce music than do now. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that old. I wasn't alive back then, but I'm just guessing. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, I apologize. And then of course, with the advent of recording technology, it became possible to, buy music. And for a period of close to 100 years, it was very difficult and expensive to reproduce these recordings, to just to, you know, you couldn't really easily copy a vinyl record, for example. Now, yes, you could record it onto a cassette tape, but you still had to know a person with a physical copy of the recording to, have your own copy. It was the same thing when CDs were first, introduced. Um, CDs came out in the early 80s. CD burners weren't common in PCs until, the 90s. So you had a good period of time there where, a CD was similar to vinyl as far as reproduction. Yes, you could make a cassette dub of it, but again, you had to either own a copy yourself or have a friend who was willing to loan it to you. So, back then, if you really wanted to have a piece of music to listen to whenever you wanted, you more or less had to buy it. You were at the mercy of, you know, whatever the retailers and the labels decided. You had to buy it if you wanted to listen to whatever song on a regular basis. Fast forward to the 90s when the internet exploded and CD burners became ubiquitous, inexpensive, blank media became cheap. Well, that's when things really got interesting, especially with the advent of Napster and file sharing. You know that that's when things really got turned on their head, and buying music started to become a much more optional activity. You could now get music for free. You could burn it to CDs. All you had to do was buy the blank CDs and have an internet connection and a computer. So if you wanted to hear a song, you didn't have to spend 18 bucks on a CD anymore. And how did the labels react to this? Not so well. For a really long time, they held on to their business models like, no, this internet thing will probably pass. Yeah, it'll go away. Well, obviously recorded music sales are a mere shadow of what they used to be and only going down all the time. Yes, there is the vinyl resurgence. I'll address that in a different video, but overall, sales are just, going through the floor. Um, One thing that, in my opinion, that would have been really intelligent for the labels to do, and for some baffling reason, if they had just, said, okay, this is very obviously just going to be the way things are. File sharing is reality. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. We have to deal with this. What, in my opinion, would have been a smart thing for them to do that they didn't do was to dramatically lower the price of a CD. Now, commonly, you can find CDs for $5, and at that price, instead of like 18, which they used to cost, and I remember when they did cost that much, $5, it's very much an impulse purchase. You know, um, hey, look, CD, $5. I want that CD. You know, you don't really even have to think about it very much. $5 is not a huge sum of money. The reason I'm throwing that figure out, I'm not just pulling it out of my butt. The reason I'm bringing that number up is because each individual disc costs less than $1 to manufacture. Now, obviously, it costs a hell of a lot more than that to record it, master it, do all the prep work. But after you have all that done, the reproduction of each unit after that is very low. And if they, sold them for $5, I think they'd sell a lot more units. Even now, yes, sales would have decreased some. That was inevitable, but I don't know if it would have fallen off a cliff the way it did if they had, lowered the price. But that's neither here nor there. Now, I want to talk about, my experiences buying music, in this modern age. Now, last year, on the 4th of July of all days, I went into a Kmart that's near my house. Now, the reason we have a Kmart is the city that I live near, for some reason, they don't want a Walmart. I don't know why, because if Walmart came in, the only business it would kill off would be Kmart. It wouldn't kill off, because there aren't that many mom and pop stores in town anyway. There's like 2 or 3. It wouldn't really have a big negative impact on local business. So I have no idea why they didn't want a Walmart, but they didn't. So we're stuck with a piece of shit fucking Kmart. Whatever, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, I went into Kmart on the 4th of July last year, and I tried to buy Judas Priest, Redeemer of Souls, but I couldn't. Why? Because it wasn't the street date yet. It wasn't in their computers. Now, keep in mind, when I went back to their pathetic music section that looked like it was like a garage sale, it was sitting out there. It was on the shelf, and it had a price tag on it, barcode, all that, right? I took it up to the counter. I was willing to give them money for this CD. Actually, money, and they wouldn't sell it to me. Keep in mind, I had already heard the album, of course. It's, the modern age. It's not like you can't hear stuff before you buy it. And I figured, hey, this is a good enough album to buy. I'll buy it. And they wouldn't sell it to me. Now, I can understand there being some barriers to buying music in retail stores. I mean, music sales aren't what they used to be, so obviously the selection is teeny tiny compared to what it used to be. And I understand that for the store. Floor space is expensive, and it has to turn a profit. But there's no excuse for having an album sitting out on the shelves with price tags on it and not selling it. I mean, come on, guys. And I know that really the only place you're going to find a decent presentation and selection of music is an actual record store now. But of course, there are way fewer record stores than there used to be. Maybe 5 or 10% are left versus what they were at the peak. So, that's neither here nor there. But also another barrier that I've noticed are some CDs that are actually still in print. For some reason, you can only get them like as imports, and they're like $30. An example of this is a band I really like called Communic. I would like to have all of their albums. Some of their albums I cannot find for a reasonable price. There is no way in hell that I am going to spend $30 on a CD that's currently in print. I can see maybe spending that much if it's like an out-of-print collector's item, whatever. But for something in print, I'm not spending $30. I'm sorry, I'm just not. In today's day and age, I'm not willing to spend $30 on a CD. Now, I know that's not an unheard of price for like a new vinyl, but again, that is a whole other discussion. But for CD, it's not happening. And in the modern internet age, there's no excuse to sell a CD for that price. So I buy a lot of music used, really. I go, to record stores, or there's a chain around here called Half Price Books, where people take, used media, not just books, but, CDs, movies, books, video game stuff like that, and they sell it, fairly cheap because it's used. I buy a lot of music that way. But I do still buy a fair amount new. Most commonly, I order it from Amazon because they have a great selection and their prices are low. Or, if I go into Worst Buy and they have a CD or two that looks good, I'll pick them up there. But, you know, I still buy CDs, and the reason I'll get into that in another video. I just enjoy collecting music, and I still buy them. So, after all my rambling, the question is, do you guys still buy CDs or music at all? It doesn't have to be CDs. If you buy vinyl, that's fine too. Let me know in the comments below, one way or the other. Anyway, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will catch you guys next time.